Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Property Empress podcast live. We are here this evening, Friday night. We promised this to everybody, and we are now here. Thank you for everybody who's been listening to the podcast throughout the season. It's been going for, this is episode 12, so it has been a long one. And our final one for the season is a live event on TikTok and uploaded onto other platforms later on, which we're not allowed to mention because they don't like that, do they?
Yeah. So apologies if you have tried to watch the final Property Empress podcast on the other platforms. It is only going out on TikTok. I was very close to getting on across all the platforms, but decided that I just didn't want to mess up basically the last episode after we'd done so well for the previous episodes. So for anyone who is watching on TikTok, thank you so much. Hello, hi, nice to see you. We are recording the final episode of the Property Empress podcast. You might not know what this is about, but basically every Monday at 8 o'clock, the Property Empress podcast gets shared on all the podcasting platforms, as well as YouTube as well. And we thought it'd be fun, like Drew said, to share, just to add loads of complication, to do it live on TikTok, but the podcast will also go live on Monday at 8. So we're doing it's a listener Q&A and also a TikTok live Q&A, because this is kind of how I normally do my lives. I jump on a TikTok live and answer questions. Have we introduced ourselves?
No, not officially.
Not officially.
So my name's Drew, and I am married to the Property Empress. This is Anna. We have been property investors for 13 years now, and we've gone up and down in our journey, and we've done a lot of stuff in property, and the podcast is really a platform for us to be able to teach people a bit about it, tell our story, help people out, and give people a bit of guidance to get started, because when we started, we had help. We didn't know what to do. We were dead keen to get involved in it. But, it's one of those things, you just don't quite know how to get involved. You don't know how to get started, or maybe you've got some of the tools, but there's some things holding you back, a few fears, a few concerns. And we had all of those things at the start. And I think doing a podcast enables us to be able to talk to people who were in the same position as us along our journey. And hopefully we can give a few tidbits, a few pointers and guidance and reassurances to people who are starting investing, and can get them up and going and get on the property ladder like we did.
Perfect. Thank you. So this episode, we're doing listener questions. So if you have any questions, anything property related, especially if you're a podcast listener, then you know the kind of things we talk about, but it can be anything property related. Just pop them in the comments and we will answer all the questions. I have also put on my social media platforms, if there's any questions that people want answered. Hi in the comments. Hi, Samantha. If there's any questions that people want to let me know. I have actually had one. We only had one question, but I think I've been a bit rubbish. I didn't give people much notice. We did have one question, but I suspect it's not from a podcast listener, because it came from a name that I recognise.
Cool. Who's that?
A Mr. Eddie Diamond?
Yeah, Eddie Diamond.
I think he's on Instagram as Eddie. Yeah, he's one of Drew's friends. He's Teddy. I was going to call him Ted. But he has asked a question.
Oh, yeah.
It's not property related necessarily. On a scale of 1 to 10, how nervous are you?
Oh, this is going to be bad. Well, let's cover it now.
It's actually, it's fairly PG. It's not too bad. Shall I ask?
Yeah, go on.
So his non-property related question was if we were going to get tattoos for one another.
Okay.
Or if we were going to get, I can't remember how he phrased it. If I was choosing a tattoo for you, what would it be and where would it be, and vice versa, I think was the gist of I should have written it down, was the gist of the question. Gotta love it when you're
listening to the podcast to get the answer.
Well, we'll see. I might have to message him and go, if you want to know the answer,
just text it now with it, so you don't have to deal with it on the podcast. Everybody else.
Yes, you can. Hi, Abigail. Yes, anything property related. We'd rather property related rather than tattoo related. For anything property related, feel free to ask in the comments and we'll answer your questions. So just to preface this, with this is my husband. This is Andrew, my husband, or Drew. Just to preface this, when we can't give any legal, financial, mortgage, or tax advice, we can talk generally. But if you ask us something that really you need to talk to an accountant, for example, mortgage broker, we will say, but we can talk generally about it, but we just can't give any personal finance advice. How's he done that then? So yeah, feel free to Abigail or anyone else pop the questions in the comments, and we'll come to them.
EPC changes.
Brilliant. Yeah. Oh, we might have to come back to the tattoo questions.
Can we put that at the end?
So talk about EPC changes. We actually did, what was it? It wasn't last week, was it?
2 weeks ago.
We did a podcast. We had a whole podcast on EPC changes. That's a great question. Thank you so much. We're going to try and be succinct with that. For me, who gives a 10-minute answer, I'll try and be succinct. Basically, there's EPC changes that are in the process of being rolled out with the regulation. And it's any rental property by 2028 is going to have to get the EPC rating to a C or higher. So at the moment it's E or higher, but it's obviously there's going to be staggered changes. It's something really, really useful to know is that you can get grants. And this is what we're in the process of doing for some of our properties. It is for tenants who are like low-income tenants or tenants on benefits. So it's not like a blanket thing. You get an assessor to come in, have a little look at the property, see if they can get you. They have to get you to 2 ratings higher, and to see if the tenants qualify for the grants. But it is an amazing thing. It's kind of phase 4 has just kicked off. It's for the next 3 years. We're working with it. In fact, you can go to propertyempress.com. I've got some information. I've got a whole page on the EPC changes, which includes a video from the assessor that we're working with, who has been absolutely brilliant. Highly recommend. But the first property we're doing, we're getting about 20 grand's worth of up levels, improvements done to the property. And I think it's going to cost us £400. It's like 20 grand's worth of work. So it's absolutely incredible. Amazing. But yeah, the main thing to know with the EPC changes is that you have until 2028 to get everything up and running. And there is more information on propertyempress.com. But yeah, that's a great question. A great one to kick us off, isn't it? Thank you so much, Insomniac. Abigail, right, we're going to try and keep up with the comments today. Abigail, I've been putting your property on the market. What are the charges to move? Oh, hang on. I've been put my property on the market. What are the changes to move now? Charges to move now. Oh,
do you mean the reasons to do it now? Or do you mean how much it will cost?
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you can we've just not quite understood the question, but if you can clarify the question, thank you. Aaron, EPC, you're absolutely right. EPC is Energy Performance Certificate. So if you're a landlord, then there's some new regulation that's been in the process of being rolled out. So when you rent a property, even if you sell a property, you have to get an EPC assessor in, and they do a very simple certificate, and they say what EPC rating it is. So an EPC rating of an A means you're amazing, off-grid, hardly any energy consumption, up to a G, which is, very, very poor, basically. And the reason they do it is to help the person buying the property or renting the property to know how much it's going to cost to pay the bills, particularly in this kind of day and age as the bills being so expensive. So the changes that are coming in are actually for landlords. I would also say the grants I was talking about actually apply for your own home as well. So if you're a low income household, you can actually get up to £50,000 worth of work done potentially for free. So it's certainly worth looking into.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, that's a really good question. Sorry, Aaron, I should have started with what an EPC is. Will it change if you change jobs, get a pay rise?
The grant is dependent on how much you are earning
now.
Yeah.
So if you get all the improvements done and then you get a pay rise, you won't have to pay it back. It's done as do you get a grant now? As far as I'm aware, but check with your EPC assessor. Yeah. But I think it's based on your current circumstances. You can get the work done. If you then go out and make change your job and get much more money, they won't ask you to pay it back, as far as I'm aware.
I mean, to be clear, it's changes that happen fairly soon as well. So what will probably happen is you'll get your EPC regulator in to sort of flag up any issues you might have that needs updating, and then they'll put that forward for the grant, and then it'll be accepted, and then the work kind of moves forward. It's like 1 to 2 months normally, so it will be moving fairly quickly. So don't worry too much about if you're mid-job. I would apply before you were getting a pay rise personally. But I wouldn't worry too much about that because it is a fairly quick process for the whole thing to get approved and then proceeding to actually having the work done.
Cool, thank you. So next question, I think that was from Samantha. Yeah, from Samantha. Do you need to change your mortgage to rent your property out? You want to ask this?
Well, yeah, not necessarily. If it's your only property and you have residential on it, you can apply for a permission to let. What's it called? It's just consent to let. Yes, and it just means that you can keep the same mortgage product you've got. Presumably that will be on a repayment because it will be a residential, and then it will be moved on to. It would just be probably a slight extra charge in order to have the permission to do that, and then you can rent it out and you'll have permission from the lender. The other alternative, if you want to refinance, is to take out a new mortgage. When you're renting it, you can't get out a residential mortgage if you're not living in the property. You have to get a buy-to-let mortgage, and they are different. They are catered for the needs of purely rental. You can't live in that property, but they do give you the ability to rent to other people on those, and you can get them. They can cost you less monthly because target really for something like that is to just have interest only rather than a repayment, and then you are maximising the cash flow of your property. So hopefully that answers that.
Beautiful. Great answer. Thanks, Drew. Lee and Jim say hey.
Hey.
Hi, Lee and Jim. How are you both doing? Nice to see you. I can't find deals. They're going way above guide and workable numbers. So when you say guide price, are you buying auction properties then? Because if you buy, and it might not be, if you're at the moment, like, so basically what's going on with the market is that the mortgage rates have gone up, the pricing, I got distracted, so I got a notification. The mortgage rates have gone up, so a lot of people are now kind of either selling the property, so there's been a flood of properties coming on the market, and also just people kind of backing off, not really buying. So the supply has gone up, the demand has gone down. So what we're seeing over this year, it peaked in November, I think, the house prices, and prices are gradually coming down. So that's really interesting that you say they're going way above guide price. If you're buying through auction, they basically, the way that auctions work is that they put their property on for a certain price to try and it's below market value typically, and it's to try and get people excited and start bidding. But there's what's called a reserve price. So the guide price might be 100 grand, but they will have a reserve price, normally about 10% higher, about 110. So only bids up to, from 100 to 110, where it won't sell. So it has to go for above 110 to be able to sell. Hopefully, the market value, if it was to sell on the open market, it would go for 120. They've put it on for 100, but they'll accept 110 because the idea is they're getting a more guaranteed fast sale. But it's not always the case. It depends on the property. It depends on the area.
Let us know in your area, actually. It'd be interesting to know what area you're having that problem.
And how you're finding the properties. Yeah. But yeah, really interesting. Thank you.
Oh, Abigail's come back.
Yeah.
Want to move to a larger property, charges from estate agents, solicitors, surveys, etc. Okay, so it is ballpark this, we can tell you. Kind of depends on the part of the country you're in, how big your house is going to be. Estate agent fees can vary from 1 to 3%.
Plus VAT normally.
That's normally for selling. You don't pay that as a buyer. Solicitor fees in the region of £1,000 to purchase. Surveyors, depends what you're having done. Depends how much work you need on it. Your standard sort of mortgage type survey, your kind of structural. It's not even structural, is it? It's just kind of like an overall. Home buy survey would be about £350, £400 ish.
Depending on how big it is. If it's a bigger property, it'd be more expensive.
And whereabouts in the country you are as well. More in-depth ones, if you've got an old property, it's a doer-upper, needs a bit of work, you might want a structural survey on it, and they will cost a little bit more. Okay, again, depending on what it is, you're probably looking at 1,000 to 2,000 on average, I would say. But like I said, it does depend on what kind of property you're looking at to do that. So
you got stamp duty and land tax as well. So when you're buying a property, you pay stamp duty. So if it's for your own home, then you just pay regular stamp duty. If it's for a buy-to-let or a second home, you pay 3% extra. But yeah, it depends on how much you're purchasing. You can Google stamp duty and land tax. It'll tell you how much the tax will be to buy your bigger home.
Yeah.
Cool. Great questions. Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you for getting some interesting comments.
From the lender. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah. If you have a mortgage broker as well, if you're thinking about renting out a home that you've lived in, have a chat with your mortgage broker, because they can kind of give you, a general chat, before you go to your lender about, whether it's likely you can get it, whether there's any quirks of the lender, etc. But yeah, normally if you want to move out and rent out your own home, then consent to that or switch into an appropriate product.
It's quite common.
Yeah.
Hello, just joined. I want some advice on how to get into the house market for investment. Okay, cool. It's incredibly vague from all these days. I mean, it's great. It's great you want to do that, but it's something we probably...
So no, I can. So basically go to episode 3 of season 1 of the Property Empress podcast. We break it down to the 7 steps to get started with property investing, but I will try and summarize them here super quick in 1 minute. So you have to tell me if I'm talking too long.
Because there's people building up for...
The first 3 steps is check your credit file. So I'm not going to give too much information, but there's 4 credit files in the UK, and I can never remember the names of them, but we use a company called Check My File. I'm sure there's other ones, but Check My File are great, and you can do it for free. You can do a free trial if you just want to look at it. You're looking to clean your credit file. You're not necessarily looking for how good you have been with credit. If there's mistakes, if there's even spelling mistakes, things like that, you want to clean your credit, make your credit as good as possible. So check your credit file. Talk to a good mortgage broker. Find out what what kind of lending you can get for your, income, etc. Your credit file, just to suss out on what rates you can get if you're looking at getting maybe buy-to-let or what have you. The third thing is to talk to a good accountant, because they can tell you how to structure your business to be the most tax efficient. Because trust me, they're going to try and tax you left, right, and centre as a property investor. So get a good accountant. And if you want referrals for either of those, let me know. I can send you our guys' details.
Awesome. Yeah, cool.
Then you need to work out your strategy. So you need to look at your personal goals. So for us, when we started, we had some debt we wanted to clear. We wanted more time. We weren't really spending that much time together. I wanted to see my niece and nephew. I felt like I was missing them growing up. So personal goals, also business goals. We want to build a passive. I thought I was about to lose my job, which I actually did 3 months later. So we wanted to build a passive income to cover our basic living costs. So we were very clear we needed at least $3,000 just to be able to cover our costs if I lost my job, because at the time Drew was out of work. This was 2010, it's the recession. So once you've got clear on why you were doing this and what you want to be achieving, then you can choose the property strategy to work for what your objectives are. So buy-to-let's beautiful, long-term growth, long-term uplift, amazing passive income. They don't give the best cash flow though. So for us, we have the buy-to-let portfolio. We also have an Airbnb portfolio, which is called rent to rent. We rent properties from landlords and we turn them into Airbnbs and we rent them out for more money. And there's a whole thing. Yes, the landlords know. That's always a question people ask me. So the two together gives us a nice monthly income, and it gives us this beautiful long-term growth in the passive income. So that was our strategy. In fact, we started by flipping houses, buying and selling to clear the debt, and then we built the income. So you work out what kind of properties to suit what you're trying to do. You then find an area to work for that strategy. Midlands and North for cash flow. Most people should be in the Midlands and North. The South, it's quite expensive and you just don't get the same cash flow. Midlands and North for cash flow. Most people are looking for cash flow, like I said. All of this is detailed in far more, details on the Property Empress podcast, especially, episode 3. And then once you've got your area, do your area comparison. So compare 3 areas, and look at the cash flows, look at all the actual analysis so you can make an informed choice. And then you can start looking at properties. Also, one of the other, I think it's step 7, is learn the investor mindset. Start reading books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, The Millionaire Next Door, Think and Grow Rich, so that you're understanding how the rich get rich and how you should be thinking as an investor.
Cool.
That wasn't 1 minute. That was
way too long. But yeah, any more information? We've got lots of podcasts backdating that. If you check Property Empress podcasts, you will see the catalogue, and you can probably find subjects which maybe interest you. I'll go into a bit more detail, and hopefully you can find something that might be more relevant to how you want to get started. Also, you can book a free 30-minute call if you want to go through some stuff with me on propertyempress.com. So that's interesting. The next comment. Well, never bother with the service. Yeah. No, we're saying here. We didn't. I think, did we get I don't even think we got the first property surveyed. We've never, as we got. No, normally. No. We've used it. Yeah. Did we do the first one maybe? No, it's the ones that are really run down that maybe have problems. Actually, it was under pitch. Yeah. We put an offers in and we got a survey on that. But the ones with real problems, we would. But yeah, no, you're right. Most of the time, if you know what you're looking at in property, and they're pretty soundly built, you don't need one.
I wouldn't recommend people don't get a survey. It's just because we have a very good feel of properties and also just how, we're buying rundown houses. So we're like, what's it really going to tell us? It's really if it's a major issue, like Japanese knotweed is the one that I'm always worried about. But having almost bought a house with Japanese knotweed, I think now I would hope I would spot it. But it's not something we recommend, but we're the same. We don't tend to get
be honest, a mortgage company will very often send their own man round as well to look at it. And when they do that, if they can approve the property for lending their money on it, then it's pretty sound for you to invest as well.
I love the next question, by the way. We're falling a little bit behind on the comments, so I'm going to try and...
It's definitely not me there. That's I can do this in 1 minute.
Right, time me. I'm going in. Why interest-only mortgage as a landlord? I love this question, and I don't know if I can do it in a minute, but it's a really good question. So as a landlord, like I said, most people are looking for cash flow. Most people are investing in property because they want a nice monthly passive income. So having interest-only mortgage means the mortgage payment is lower, which means your cash flow is higher. But the biggest thing is that if you're buying your own home, say you borrow 100 grand, and the idea is you have your working life to pay it down, like to pay down the 100 grand and the interest, so that when you retire, you own your house outright and you've got rid of all that risk when you retire. It makes sense. As a landlord, you don't need to do that, because when you buy a property, you can only get a 75% loan to value mortgage usually. So say you've got a 75 grand mortgage and you've got 25 grand equity. You don't need to worry about paying down that 75 grand because you own the property for an amount of time. It's giving you an income. If and when you sell the property itself will clear that original loan that you've borrowed. There's no actual reason to pay it down. The only reason really you would pay it down is if you've bought a property that is going to be a pension at retirement. But most people don't do it that way. I could say more, but I'm going to try and keep it succinct. Do you agree with that?
That's right. Yeah, the key thing is the cash flow on the property. Just paying interest and no repayment just means that your monthly payments are less. So any rent you get in minus your expenses and your mortgage cost will just be more, will bring you more profit. So that's really the main reason you would do it as a landlord. Government help to buy homes, worth it or stay clear? In what respect? As a buyer, as a first-time buyer, do you mean? Yeah. Can
I say?
Go on.
So I think as many options is amazing. Like, I personally think as many different ways to help people on Property Ladder, fantastic. The problem with a lot of the schemes is they're very restrictive. Much like mortgages, you have to have a certain income, you have to have a certain credit, you have to have a certain situation, and they're not accessible to everyone. I'm like, I want to see stuff where everyone can use it. Like, not everyone can use mortgages, not everyone can do the help to buy schemes. A lot of all these incentives, it really does, it helps some people, but not enough people. So for me, one of the things that we have done over the years is because we have everything that we're talking about, and because we didn't ever have any money to invest. So we've used creative ways of buying property, using other people's money, using strategies. We don't need much money. And all of these things can be applied for your own home. So I've done helps people basically to buy properties without using mortgages, because mortgages really are the problem. So I think it's if you can apply for it and it works for you, amazing, great. If that's the only way you can, if you want to get on the property ladder, that's the only way you can do it, go for it. Like, obviously look at all the terms and conditions, but I think it's just too restrictive, and I think that there's too many caveats. I would rather do the creative ways where you've got more choices.
Please explain current mortgage fees posted by God. So if God's asking us to explain that, then I mean, if he doesn't know, then no one knows. I think, so in a nutshell, the interest rates are continually rising at the moment, and it has gone up for the 14 months.
Yeah,
now,
like 5.25 now.
Yeah, it's with
the base rates. Sorry, this is the base rates we're talking about,
which the Bank of England determine, and that affects the interest rates on mortgages as well, because obviously it's part of the lending that banks lend for buying houses. To explain it in a nutshell, it's going up at the moment, and the property market itself is slowing. So what I expect to happen at some point is that slow movement, that slowing it down will mean that the interest rates will eventually stop going up, and even hopefully, fingers crossed as an investor, they will start declining. But at the moment, it's a point where it's quite high comparatively over for what it's been over the last 13 years. But the value of the properties themselves are not quite as much as they were a few months ago. So we're kind of at a point where we're in crossover. So best way to describe the interest rates at the moment is they are getting close to where they're not going to go up too much more.
The predictions at the moment is that they're going to keep going up for the rest of the year to 5.75%, which interestingly I think was what we had in 2007. We had the same thing. The reason they're putting interest rates up or in base rates up is because inflation was through the roof. Inflation is coming down, but the official line is it's not coming down as quick as they'd like, so they're having to put base rates up to bring inflation in line. If you're a little bit of a conspiracy theorist like me, then you kind of understand that this is all orchestrated by the banks, and it's not coincidence that the banks announced that they were going to get into the landlord game literally just before they start putting rates up and then basically driving down prices. Like if you were going to be buying houses and you could influence the market, wouldn't you want to get everyone else out of the market, drive prices down, buy all the stock, and then let them go up again?
Yeah.
But anyway.
Right.
The great question thingy. Podcast details, please.
Wow, that's my Double Dragon. I love that game. That was the first video game I ever completed.
Oh, that's
yeah, 1989 or something. It was
oh my God,
the Game Boy.
Oh, the Game Boy.
On the original Game Boy, yeah. Podcast. It's the Property Empress podcast, and you can find it on Spotify and
Apple Podcasts, on all the podcast
platforms, wherever you get them. Really, it's there. It's called the Property Empress podcast.
It's also on YouTube as well. It drops every Monday at 8:00. But this is the final episode of season 4. We're going to take a short break, aren't we? We'll come back just for the summer. We'll come back probably in September, October time.
Through the summer already. So we're kind of ending because it's episode 12 and it's a kind of a clear run, and we're going to come back in the autumn. When mortgage advisors come on TikTok, times are really hard. Well, any person who's marketing their business.
Hang on, just to be clear, we're not mortgage advisors.
Oh yeah,
we're not giving any mortgage advice. We're talking generally about.
We're investors, not mortgage advisors. Yeah. But I think mortgage advisors should be on TikTok. It's a platform for your social media is a platform to market your business. So it shouldn't be just doing it in the lean time. Should be doing it all the time.
Okay. Next question: why are ghosts always human ghosts? Where are all the bee ghosts and giraffe ghosts?
I have a question about ghosts. Why do ghosts always wear clothes? Have they got ghost clothes? And why are they always like 100-year-old clothes? Why don't they wear Jordans and Biker Jordans and stuff like that? I never see a ghost wearing that.
How many ghosts have you seen?
Oh, not enough to determine what they wear and what they don't.
Not enough.
Wear.
You don't have enough data.
No, okay. I'll get back to you on that. Next time we go live, come back on and we'll tell you our ghost findings. And if I see any bee ghosts, that'd be awesome.
That would be amazing. Even in this market, still good to start property investment. I love this. Yeah. I love this. Yes, it's always a good time to buy, but you have to understand the market and you have to invest for the long term and to market proof your portfolio. So absolutely. The reason to buy now is that everyone has backed off because a lot of people are scared. And I think it's Warren Buffett, isn't it? When other people are greedy, I know how to make you rich. When other people are greedy,
be cautious.
Be cautious. And when other people are cautious, be greedy. And that's kind of what we've done. The last 3-4 years, we focused on building the Airbnbs while the property prices have been booming. And now that the prices are cooling, we're back in the game because we can get amazing deals and we can structure stuff in a certain way. We work with angel investors, so the mortgage rates don't really worry us so much. But the reason to invest now really is, again, if you can invest for this market, is knowing that the prices are coming down. They're going to probably bottom out early next year. So you're going to be able to get some amazingly cheap properties, as long as you're buying the right property in the right area. And like I said, market proofing your portfolio. So yeah.
And remember, property investing is a long-term project. It's not something you get in and out of. So don't look at whether it's going to make you money in the next 6 months. Look at how it's going to make you money in 2, 5, 10 years. And knowing how a property market moves in general over the long period, know that means that you're going to make money over a long period of time doing so. So don't let blips in the market and changes in market conditions put you off getting started if you're ready to do it now.
Great, thank you. Great, these are such amazing questions.
What area has the greatest ROI?
Well, we tend to focus more on cash flow because most people are looking for cash flow. And also we buy properties and we basically we buy properties cheap and we force the value up. So we buy discounted properties, we renovate, if there's an uplift, we leave it for an uplift. We refinance all that initial investment back out again, and then the property, just runs and gives us an income. So the ROI technically is infinite.
Yeah.
But in terms of cash flow, in terms of like getting a beautiful monthly income, the North really is the best place, but you're not going to get long-term growth. The South, great for long-term growth, but you're not going to get great cash flow. The Midlands, which is where we invest, you get a bit of both. So if you're looking for the best cash flow, go north. I did some slides for my last buy-to-let course, and you can literally, this was in June, you can literally still buy. There was a £56,000 property. It wasn't auction. It was in good condition, and it would rent for £700 a month. It was insane. And it had like a 14% yield, and it was just a 2 or 3 bedroom, terrace property. But of course, the long-term uplift's not very good, but it'll give you great income. Whereas I went in London then, and I was like, it gives you great long-term growth, but it didn't give you very good income particularly compared to the North.
Do a little bit of research on that, on what you're looking to achieve for it. And there's stuff on Google. Just search like your affordability checks on the government sites and stuff like that. That gives you an idea of how much prices roughly are, whether people can afford the rents there, and then it'll tell you how much the average rents are for those areas as well.
Can I give you a couple of heads up? Because I do area comparison for my mentoring clients. I'll give you a couple of areas that in the last couple of years have surprised me that they've been really good. So Sheffield was a really good cash flow area, which I was quite surprised about. Eastbourne is a good, because I want as much as I say Midlands and North, sometimes it's just too far. You're looking for cash flow. Eastbourne and Hastings were quite good, but certainly in the North, Sheffield was amazing. Liverpool's very good. What's the other one? It's not Derby. It's it's on the tip of my tongue. But do you know any other areas? Everyone says Grimsby as well, but I've heard mixed. I think the numbers are probably pretty good in Grimsby, but yeah. I'll have to come back to that one. It's on the tip of my tongue. It's a D, but it's not Derby. Anyway, I'll come back to them. Oh, and Wales as well. My goodness me, I had some clients it was Pembrokeshire. Apparently South Wales is really good, but Pembrokeshire, I was looking at an amazing properties there.
To turn into Airbnb.
Right, we're falling rapidly behind in the comments. Let's do quick.
More on that. Why doesn't the landlord do this? Okay, so I do this.
Right.
This is my main strategy at the moment. It's rent to rent to short-term letting and service apartments. I do this it's my everyday job in the property market at the moment. Why? It's very simple. Why don't landlords do that? The landlords I work with, I target landlords who are tired landlords who are not looking to be too hands-on. People who are marketing directly, but it's usually people that are trying to cut costs, who don't want to have to spend lots of money on the agent fees, letting agents and management and stuff like that, and just want a real hands-off experience. The problem that is usually people that have had problems with high turnover, with issues with the property, and maybe even issues with the tenants themselves. So what I do, I go in, I offer secured rent for 3 to 5 years. I offer hands-off management on the property where I do all of the maintenance, I look after it, and all they really have to worry about is getting the rent in each month, which I do. And that's very simply why landlords wouldn't do Airbnb themselves. It is a lot of work. I have a team now that I work with who do my Airbnbs. I have teams who take the calls. I have people who help me with the bookings. I have cleaning staff. I have laundry services, maintenance guys. The list goes on. So you have to have a team around you. And all of these reasons are why landlords don't do this, because they don't have the time or the inclination to do all of that work. But what they do want is a solid rent every month without having to worry about their house being getting run down or being forgotten or having any issues with the tenants or any extra expenses that they might have to carry. So that is why a landlord in a nutshell would do it. And they're all individuals. Most of my landlords have one property. I occasionally work with ones who know other people and will maybe do 1 or 2 others. But yes, my target is that, and that is why they'd rent to someone like me.
Thank you. Great question. Thank you so much. I'd love to know the accountant, please. That's absolutely fine. Send me, you can send me a direct message and I'll send you their contact details.
Cisco, what, till 11 p.m. I can guarantee that it is on a Friday.
I don't even know what you're
looking
looking at.
at.
I don't know what that's in reference to. I'm so sorry. Those that were born, you first briefly want. Okay. Likes invest property is
get in your head first.
Likes invest in property is did well on a crypto coin. Is North a viable investment opportunity? Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
North is great for cash flow. It won't have as much long-term uplift. Do an area, even in the North, do an area comparison. Compare 3 areas that you think will work well for you. Excuse me. And you want to be checking the cash flow of each of the areas. If you don't know how to do that, go to my videos on my TikTok page, because I do buy-to-let numbers in and I do it there. But check the cash flow, the long-term uplift. You can go on land registry for that.
Yep.
Check the number of houses. Make sure there's at least 2,000 properties for sale in that area, so you've got a good pool to look for.
Yep.
From. Then look at your own preferences. What's your strategy? Like, if you're trying to build it, say you have a certain amount of money to invest. Well, how much cash flow would that give me? How much uplift would that give me? Like, compare for your own objectives as well. But do an area comparison on at least 3 areas. But the North, yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. Eggs, dairy, in your opinion?
Yes.
I'm going to say yes. Yeah, we're going to just, I will.
Do you think property prices would decrease? Yes, I do. Any worries about negative?
No.
Not personally.
No. So basically, when we buy properties buy-to-let, we're getting a 75% loan to value mortgage. Property prices in the history of price data have dropped twice, once in the 90s and once in 2007. Both times they dropped by about 10%. They actually dropped by 15%, bounced back and plateaued to 10%. So knowing that even if we just bought a property, we'd have 25% equity, it's unlikely to go into negative equity. Because it's likely to be 10% and we've got 25% equity. Property prices are decreasing. They plateaued. You can go to the land registry, you can see it for yourself. They plateaued. They peaked, I think, in November of last year. They're on their way down. If they follow the previous patterns, then they're going to probably bottom out early next year, bounce back and plateau at that 10% drop, probably mid next year. Great question there. How does it work with angel investors? Do they just transfer the money to buy it yourself? So when you're buying properties with angel investors, it's done through solicitors. So they don't send it to you direct. Ooh. Do they? I can't remember. It's been a while.
It depends how you structure.
But it's done through solicitors.
Yeah.
It's done through solicitors. So basically they'll be able to help you out. But no, it's the angel investor is effectively like a bank. So I'm hoping to be buying property soon, like in the next couple of weeks. So basically the angel has a charge. They have a first and only charge. But rather than having 75% loan to value, they're giving us 100%. We're structuring it so the angel knows that hopefully within a couple of months of buying the property value will have gone up because we'll have renovated it. So their security is good, basically. And we're going to have it for a couple of years, refinance, pay the angel back with interest. But yeah, great question. Problem is the market has gone up 30% before it's come back down. They're not sure the banks are winning.
Depends how on what timescale you're talking about for that 30%.
The banks are always winning, by the way. I know what you mean, though. But yeah, it's over the last 3 years, we've had a boom. Like the markets have gone, the property prices have gone up about 10% on average a year. And then it's likely to come down by 10%. So overall, it's still really, really, significantly higher. But yeah, where is the properties? What, our properties? We have the buy-to-let portfolio in the Midlands and an Airbnb portfolio in the South.
Focus on cash flow rather than ROI. Ignore these guys on TikTok because they're not good in there. Yeah.
Okay. We don't have this. I would normally give a little bit more time to that, but we're quite behind on the comments, so we're going to have to catch up. Harrow.
This is for the investors selling tuition. Well, that's the tuition. We just talk about property.
Yeah, it's the property Q&A.
Yeah.
It's actually a podcast. It's the Property Empress podcast. It's the final episode of the season 4.
Doncaster for investment.
Doncaster.
Okay. I mean, I don't know the market for Doncaster personally. It sounds because of where it's located. It sounds like it works quite well.
It probably would be quite a good cash flow area. I'd want to check the long-term uplift. Again, it would always be check Doncaster against 2 other areas to make an informed choice, because otherwise you got to look at the numbers. But the likelihood is Doncaster is probably quite a good uplift, quite a good cash flow area. You can probably get relatively cheap price houses for your money. But yeah, just check the uplift maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, good question. Wales is terrible. It's eroding. Okay. Okay. Hang on. Oh, okay. Is that the same one? I'm just going to skip. So I would normally, yeah.
In Grimsby with 30 years experience, can pack some cracking deals if anyone's interested.
Oh,
Well, there you go.
cool. There you go.
Grimsby's not a bad place to speak to this guy.
Thank you for the follows. Thank you for all the questions, everyone.
That strategy.
Oh, which strategy? That strategy? What buy? Probably the rent to rent. I imagine. Yes. Is the short term answer.
It's good money.
It's very good money. Rent to SAs typically cash for about £1,000 a month net income, per property. So, and it's much quicker. So you can meet a landlord tomorrow, sign a contract tomorrow, get the keys tomorrow, get it dressed in the next week, and have it on, Airbnb booking.com within like a week. I mean, we do it in a week. I think really you would probably want a budget a month, but it's much quicker than having to buy a property. You don't need a deposit. You don't need, even a good credit. The biggest drawback, the two biggest drawbacks with rent to SA or Airbnbs is that they're not as passive as buy-to-lets, but also with the rent to rent, you're not owning the property, the money is in the property ownership. So it's a really good for me, it's a good complementary strategy to buy-to-lets.
It's a good strategy for people who don't have any money to invest to get going and make quite good profits on. But it is involved, so you do have to be prepared for that before you start.
Thanks, Double Dragon. He said, thank you for your live, great info. I'm sure to get in touch.
Happy to help.
How did you start?
We were in debt and I didn't have a job, and Anna was at risk of being made redundant. And we just came across a seminar advertising property. You know how maybe some of you guys stumble across a TikTok live about property investing, or you do the podcast you might find on a search for property, or you read something. We stumbled across it and we went and we did a 2-hour seminar, and then we bought the course because that's what they do at those places. They sell courses. And we bought some courses to go into a more in-depth weekend on it, and then we bought courses to specialise in particular areas. So we invested quite a lot of money and we put a lot on the line. It was quite a risk for us at the time because we didn't know if it worked, and we didn't really have the money to do it either. But we also knew that we had to take a leap of faith because I didn't have a job and Anna was about to lose her job. So we had to take a chance on something that we were told was going to work, and we'd spent all this time learning how the structure was and how it would work for us. So we did it, and our strategy was to get rid of that debt, and that includes paying the training courses that we paid for because they weren't cheap either. And we did a flipping strategy. So we bought distressed, undervalued properties in the area. We added value to them, and then we turned them around and sold them off. And we sold them back on within 3 to 6 months, and we were making 10 to 15,000 profit per property. And we flipped all of our debt off. We built up a little pot to reinvest. And we bought ourselves a portfolio. We started buying our portfolio, and then we grew with investors, and we grew with the number of houses we could buy, and we just kept growing. And we bought a property portfolio to sustain our life, and then had a family, didn't we?
Yeah,
had a family, and we spent lots of time together at home. And then, like now, the kids are getting a little bit older. We're back in property a bit more than we were a few years ago, and we're still doing it. We like what we do. We enjoy the hustle of finding houses and adding value to them, and we obviously like making the money for it as well. And like I said earlier on the live, I've diversified, and I do some high cash flowing strategies as well, which it broadens our knowledge in the market, and it also brings us a little bit more money in each month as well. So that's kind of in a very quick way. That is our story. That's how we did it. But everybody's different. Everyone has a different reason to do it.
Yeah.
And everyone will find a strategy that is suitable for them. The great thing about property is that you can find a strategy that will basically suit what you're looking for, what you're looking to achieve, because it's very diverse. You can, if you've got a lot of money and you just want somewhere for it to grow gradually over time, it's a great thing to do is to buy properties in the UK. If you want to earn a passive monthly income, and that is just minimal work, really. But when I say passive, I mean you're not completely switched off, but you want to earn minimal work to get the money in each month, then doing that is a really good way of doing it as well. And also, if you want to be a bit more involved, then there's ways that you can make really good money on it as well. But you kind of trade off your time for making that income as well. And the property is a very lucrative business, and it's a really good way to make money, either short, medium, or long term. And that's what I would say We do.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, in a very short. I hope that helps. That's how we started, and that's where we are now.
Yeah, it's interesting. Very good. Thank you. User 408 thinks you're fine.
I don't think that's me.
What was your credit rating? Do you know? I don't. We do check our credit. Well, I do. I check my credit, but I'm not interested in the rating. I'm interested. So basically, when you apply for any kind of credit, they're not the credit rating doesn't really exist. It just gives you, an idea of how good it is. When you apply for any kind of credit, they're looking for key parts of your credit file. So we actually do. Well, you regularly check yours as well, don't you? So we regularly check our credit files, but we're looking for any mistakes. We're looking for any changes. And very often there's been a mistake. Like I've fallen off the electoral a couple of times. You had like an arrangement on when you first checked. There was an old mistake on your credit. So for us, we're always just cleaning our credit. So I actually don't know how much my credit rating is. Also, make sure there's 4 credit files in the UK. So if you're checking your credit file, check all 4. Like a company like Check My File, you can check all 4 in one place. Because if you check your Experian one and then you apply for a mortgage, but they happen to use it's not call credit anymore, whatever, Clear Score. If they use a different one, and there's a mistake on it, you need to check all 4 basically.
It's gone up massively, roughly 1% a month since coming out of lockdown. Yeah,
wow.
Awesome.
It's likely that's now coming down since they've put mortgage rates up. It's probably coming down, but that's a lot. But it's
like because it's what you have. What happens in the UK in general is London is the first point of the UK that any effects take place, and then it's a ripple. So it's like you drop a stone in the water, and the stone in the middle is London, and then the ripple is anything outside. So Surrey is going to be one of the first places outside of London that's going to be affected by any kind of increases. It's a very rich area as well. So I think, Surrey and probably the sort of surrounding Kent areas as well would be the same kind of effect.
Yeah, that's family homes over 1 million. Yeah, wow. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's catch up the comments because we should probably wrap this live up soon. Have you bought properties and extended to increase amounts of ensuite beds? If so, what was that like? No. We all of our buy-to-lets were buying distressed properties, so properties that needed work basically, and most of them were bought direct to vendor, so we were getting them like cheap. Basically, we give a fast guaranteed sale, and in return, we want a modest discount. So no, we haven't done any extensions, I don't think, because the problem with extensions, I mean, not all extensions, but the problem with a lot of extensions is you add as much value as you spend on it. And what we're trying to do is spend $5,000 adding 20 grand's worth of value. Having said that, the property I'm in the process of buying is going to be a flat conversion. So that's a bit different, but certainly all the existing properties hasn't been the case. But I know it can be a very good strategy. Done the right way, it can be a very good strategy, adding space for sure. Oh, that's your husband. I'm sorry, apologise. If an investor wants to invest with you, are you able to provide a copy of your accounts, key financials? Yes, absolutely. I was just thinking, actually, I was like, our account, we haven't done our latest set of accounts, have we? But yeah.
For numbers 22, no. Still outstanding.
A really helpful life. Thank you. Got to go now. Oh, thank you. Nice to see you. Yeah, we should probably also go soon. How many HMOs do I need to retire? 10 or 15? It depends. It depends. Like,
might be 1.
Exactly. If you get there was that one of the guys with the training, he had like a 60 room HMO or something, and it calculated some crazy number. And also, I mean, the way to work it out is how much money do I need, and when you say retire, for me, it's like, how much money do I need to be able to leave my job and free up my time for other things? So you need to work out how much you need, how much income you need, and then again, find the right area, and then work it out. HMOs aren't the best strategy at the moment because of the fact that utilities are so expensive and mortgage rates have gone up. It's a lot of regulation, and it is a little bit harder to pull your money back out of deals with HMOs. So people are tending to go more towards service accommodation or Airbnbs than HMOs because the HMO income just isn't what it used to be. But yes, exciting. Good luck with it. You're very welcome, the Keep Man.
How many hours do you work a week?
Oh, well, at the moment, quite a lot.
I feel like I overstuffed.
Yeah. But that hasn't always been the case. Like, we took a big period of time off when the kids were little. Our kids are now she turns 9 on Monday, and our daughter's 10. So the kids are a little bit older. So I'm doing much more teaching, coaching, social media, and you're growing the Airbnb portfolio. So it goes through waves. At the moment, we actually are both quite busy, but sometimes, the Airbnbs are much more streamlined at the moment. You've got more.
Yeah, it's just as I grow, I built the team, and the team is taking over bits which have been really time consuming, which is the kind of stuff when you're managing it in the sort of the beginning. Because I got 1, 2, 3, and then as I've grown, it got to a point where I can't continue to grow the business and manage it at the same time. So I've got people doing the different tasks to free up my time, really. So it's weird. It can kind of swell and swell and swell, and you'll be really busy, and then you pass it on to somebody else, and it shrinks, and you've got more time to breathe for a bit and relax, or sometimes just then go again. It's weird because I feel like I work all the time, and I sometimes feel like I don't work much at all as well. It's basically our life. It's what we do.
There's flexibility in our time. Also, I would say we homeschool our kids as well, so we have a very different lifestyle. So we feel busy, but it's because we have quite busy, quite abundant lives, basically.
I mean, one thing is, it is important, and we've been putting these in more recently than historically, but we've been putting boundaries in to stop talking about work in the evenings and in the first thing in the morning and check the phone at night. These just little things that make you keep your sanity, I guess. They just make you better at what you're doing, because you're more focused and concentrated during the day when you're actually working, rather than constantly thinking about it. Boundaries are really important when you're running your own business, and it's a constant adjustment. It's not been that easy for either of us, and it's not easy for anyone who runs their own business. You just want to keep working and grow it and make it bigger and make it the best thing you can. But you also need that recovery time. So I would imagine that is one of the hardest things you can do, is being able to step away from it, and just make sure that that's a big part of it before you get too involved in it, so that you can take regular breaks and time off from it to get a bit of perspective on what you're doing.
Right, we're gonna have to wrap up soon. We are gonna finish the questions, but I just want to try and make sure we really, and this is for me, this is things, because otherwise this is going to be a crazy long podcast. Where do we get our properties from? So the 3 best ways, because we work with angel investors, so we have to get discounted properties, get the value up enough that we can refinance, pay the angels back with interest. The 3 best ways of doing that is through auctions, through direct to vendor. So we have marketing in our local area. I buy houses, any condition, call Anna on this number. And then through existing relationships with estate agents. So we probably have got maybe like half and half with existing relationships with estate agents and direct to vendor. And we're buying, I think, our first auction property imminently.
How much debt do you currently have?
God, no idea.
Good debt or bad debt is the question there. Have we been spending stuff on credit cards that we need to pay off, like everybody else has? There's some there. Then there's our portfolio, which is leveraged.
We've got angel investors, we've got mortgages, mainly angel investors, mortgages, and some credit cards.
It's a bit of a deep question, and it's just answer it, because also it's how much is leveraged against the business and how much are we up overall, and that's really where we look at it, is how much we've got in profit.
How many are in your portfolio? We tend to have, the buy-to-lets tend to be about 10 to 15 buy-to-lets. The Airbnbs tend to be 10 to 15, but it fluctuates. It does fluctuate. Hi. Oh, I was going to try and pronounce your name. I can't.
Did you have angels or mortgages? A little bit of both, actually, when we did that.
So it was slightly different, because when we started, it was a completely different financial structure. So when we were working with angel investors, we could get a buy-to-let mortgage for a flip, which I don't think you can. We haven't flipped since we started. I have a feeling you can't do buy-to-let mortgages now. But anyway, we would get a 75% buy-to-let mortgage and 25% from an angel investor. And then we would normally put the renovations on credit cards, because we knew that once that got paid off, all of that would be paid back. But you can't do that now. So when we're buying houses, we buy 100% with angels. Did that answer both the questions?
Buy-to-let. Yes, buy-to-let mortgages when you flip. If you're buying
talk to a good mortgage broker about flipping, because we haven't, as soon as we cleared the debt, we were then focusing on the cash flow. Talk to a good mortgage broker. They'll be able to help you with what kind of lending to do. It's a good question. Are you property hoarders? Is this not unfair for first-time buyers? I'm going to be very, very quick with this. So the reason first-time buyers can't get onto the property ladder is not because of investors. Most property investors are accidental landlords. It's because of mortgages. It's not because of investors. So if we turn around to all of our tenants and said, actually, no, we're getting out of the landlord game, none of them would be able to buy, not because we bought them, but because of the mortgages. So I totally understand where the question has come from, and it's something I get asked a lot, that once you understand that how the financial markets work, and especially that the banks are owned by the same families who own the mainstream media, and the mainstream media are the ones that are going, oh, landlords are the reason that people can't buy. It's not, it's the mortgages. So the more ways that are outside of mortgages, like all the techniques that we teach for how to buy houses, work for people buying their own homes. So people who can't get a mortgage can do all of the techniques, work with angel investors, do lease options, things like that. But they need to get away from mortgages to be able to buy. So it's the mortgages that are the problem, but I understand where you're coming from. If someone wants to invest with you, your credit rating is very important.
Yeah, well, it's one of many things you should be looking at. Yeah. So the investment as well. But yeah, no, I agree. It's one of the things an investor should be looking at. Absolutely.
But also remember, even if you have a bad credit rating, you can still get a mortgage. Usually, depending on what's going on with your credit and whatnot. Even if you don't have, for buy-to-lets, this is not, I don't know for your own home, but even if we had a terrible credit rating, we could still potentially get a mortgage. And it's the same thing with angel investors. Even if we had a terrible credit rating, just deemed a higher risk.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with bridging as well. With bridging compared to mortgages, they look at the whole thing. They look at the projects more than anything else. So a bad credit rating doesn't mean you can't get lending, whether it's through traditional routes like mortgages or angel investors. But you're right, it definitely helps to have good credit.
Yeah.
Thank you for the shows. How much is the minimum investment we can add? Do you mean to invest with us? How, if I misunderstood that?
Don't know. To get started in property, yeah, I mean, it really depends what your strategy is. That's something you need to go into a bit more detail about. So probably book a call on that.
Yes. But $3,000 is the answer. Well, it depends. I'm not.
If you want to buy houses, that's no good.
So I'm not entirely sure whether you're talking about investing with us. If that's the case, it's $3,000. If it's to get started with property investing, then $0. Because actually, you can work with angel investors. You don't need to put any of your own money in. Or if you want to do something like rent to rent, usually $3,000 is a good budget just to get the first property up and running. But certainly, if you're buying a property for like buy-to-let or something, it depends on the area. But I did do it something ages ago. I think we worked out the $25,000 really is the minimum you'd need of your own money to get started with buy-to-let, regardless what area you're in. Cheers, guys. You always deliver. Thank you. Can using an agent be good to offset your property tax? Oh, yes. So yeah, your income tax or corporation tax, if it's, again, I can't give any tax advice, but yeah, having a letting agent is a taxable deduction, I believe. Obviously, check with your accountant, but yes, it can be good to offset your tax. Great question. These are great questions. You guys have done well to have 6. What was that, 6?
6 what? I don't know.
Oh, sorry. This is the problem.
What would you do?
You had 50K in your bank. What would you do? Oh,
I know. We'd argue over where we would spend it. We would. Like, you'd want to buy a house and I'd want to invest in the business.
So if you have $50,000, you could buy $200,000 property or 2 $100,000 properties. It depends what our strategy is at that point. At this point in time, probably the Airbnbs. Probably the Airbnbs, because we're in the process of buying this big property that's going to give us a nice boost to the buy-to-let income. So I'd probably say the Airbnbs. It depends. But for us, it depends on what's going on. If we were starting out with $50,000, I would probably buy 1 buy-to-let with it and maybe 3 or 4 Airbnbs, like the rent to SAs, to get the $3,000, $4,000 a month cash flow, but also getting it into a property for the long-term uplift. I would split it. I would always do buy-to-let and rent to SA at the moment. Are you Masons? No. Are you able to set up midterm Airbnbs? Oh, I don't know what that means.
I mean, do you mean mid to how long?
As in like 3-month
tenancies and stuff. I mean, we can set that up.
Yeah.
How we're set up is fine to do that.
Nothing to do. Oh, okay. Anyway, there is going to be a financial collapse. You need to wake up. Oh, trust me. Go to my Airbnbs, go to my TikToks from last year, and you will know that I know exactly what we're talking about the financial collapse. It's not that we don't know what's going on, but it's that we live in a 3D world, and you have to have one foot in both worlds. You have to have that higher perspective, know what's coming, understand that we're being controlled and manipulated by the financial systems. I am completely aware. Like, trust me, you knew the crazy friends I hang out with. But the thing is, it's not about, for me, it's about having one foot in both worlds and having as many tools as possible. But yeah, I hear you, and I know what you're talking about. You won't get a mortgage with a score below 200.
No, probably right.
Yeah. Well, again, it depends on the lending, but I know what you mean. It might, certainly, yes. If you have a horrible credit, you've got CCJs, etc., you wouldn't get lending. But I'm talking about if you don't have perfect credit, you can still potentially get lending. But yeah. Oh my God, people. I have 200k in the bank, but too scared to invest in the current market. Yeah. And I think that is right. You should be scared, but learn the market, learn how to invest, learn why this is a good market, learn how to invest to market-proof your portfolio. Have a clear plan. Like, I always do strategy calls with my clients where I do a 90-minute strategy call. We go into your personal objective, your business objectives. Then you work out what property strategy will work for you for what you're trying to achieve, what area will work for that property strategy, and then you can create an action plan of what to do, how to find the properties, how to structure the properties, how to finance them, all of this thing. You have to have a clear business plan. If you have money that you want to invest, whether it's £1 or £100, million pounds, have a clear business plan. What's the expression? Information is power or whatever.
Yeah, 200k, like, the fear will go away once you know what your investment strategy is and how you're going to make money from it.
Thanks. I think it's Steve. Thank you. Are you not concerned on the interest rates just going up and up?
Oh, it's not ideal, but I wouldn't say I was worried about it. We knew it was coming because it was so low for so long. We knew that the interest rates were always going to go up. You just have to foolproof your portfolio against it. So just know that you can still make money when the rates go up, because like I said, it was 0.25% at its lowest. It's basically nothing. It's always going to be more than that at some point. So just future-proof it. If when it is at that stage, just future-proof it. Make sure that you are in a position where you are making plenty enough to cover when it gets to this level or even higher, or just start making plans on your financing so that you don't have as much equity. We've had more equity, that was much borrowing against a property when it gets to a situation like this.
The more you understand the market, the more you don't make emotional decisions. So when rates go up, you can kind of have that perspective of knowing, certainly the way that we invest, when rates went up, it didn't really worry us at all. We can adapt. You have to adapt to the market. This is a short-term swing against landlords. And before, there was a short-term swing for landlords where we had record-breaking low interest rates and prices were booming. So whether it's a positive or negative, we don't get overly bothered by it. Our focus is on the long game. But yeah, I do understand why you'd be, why it could be nerve-wracking. But when you understand the bigger pictures, it's not that scary. What's better, buying a leasehold property or freehold? It depends on the area. In the south, I would definitely consider leasehold. In the north, no. For me, it's houses in the north. The flats don't go up in value as much. Leasehold houses are a bit tricky with the lending and stuff like that. Good evening, Luke. Hi. Thanks for
your welcome. I hope it's been helpful.
We have high equity in May release of buy-to-let. Also, both work full-time. Do you make good earnings? Yeah, we do. We've been doing it 13 years, so we've had a good amount of time to build the earnings. I think the key as well is multiple income streams, because we both were employees. Drew was then out of a job. I was worried I was about to lose my job, which I did. So we were both in that situation where we realized it was high risk. So we now have multiple income streams. We have passive income. We have diverse incomes, and it just makes sense.
Yeah.
A little bit scary. You don't really ask. Credit rating. No, it wasn't that we said we didn't.
We do know our credit rating.
Score. We know our credit file. We just don't know the score because it's not really important to us or the lenders. It's not that we don't know our credit. It's not that we don't know our credit file. We regularly check it. We both have accounts with Check My File. I don't check monthly. I used to, but I don't check monthly. But basically, we go through the credit file just to make sure there's no problems, there's no mistakes, etc. We just don't know the rating because it doesn't really mean anything. Right, we're really going to have to go. We've been on for over an hour. And are you interested in bungalow and
workshop?
Oh,
He's not me throughout his workshop.
I mean, you're very welcome. You're very welcome.
Send us the details.
Send us the details. Are all your buy-to-lets on interest only? Yes. Yeah. If so, why? Because our strategy is cash flow. Most landlords are on interest only. I mean, talk to a good mortgage broker, talk to a good accountant. But the idea is that you don't need to be paying down that initial. If you're buying your own home, it makes sense to pay it down, but you don't need to with an investment property. I won't go into it because we really need to catch up with the comments. But if you're in, you can send me a message. Maybe I'll do another video. I've done videos on this before. I'll do another video for you. How are you adapting to the high interest rates, increasing rents?
We did just talk about the high interest. It's like I just said, we just you prepare for it when it's low, and it's been really low for years. Knowing that it was always going to go up. So you future-proof your portfolio in the low times, knowing that it's going to go up. This isn't a surprise to us. So when it's not a surprise to you, and you know how the market moves and what's going to happen, then you don't fear things. It's knowledge and understanding of the market is why things like this don't worry you. That you just adjust.
Also, we started the Airbnb portfolio 4 years ago because we kind of knew that it was going to be coming to an end at some point. So as the mortgage rates go up, we're getting more properties for one, to help boost that income to counteract. There are certain things we do to make sure that it doesn't have a huge impact on us, but certainly then, upping the Airbnb income and things like that can just offset the drop in the buy-to-let income. How much good debt do you have? We've got mortgages, we've got the angel investing, and we've got some credit card debt. I don't know off the top of my head, but it's hundreds of that.
It's enough to.
It's got to be
big portfolio.
With the mortgages, it must be in the millions. So yeah. Would the interest rate decrease house prices? Yes, it has.
Yeah.
So as mortgage rates start going up, so the house prices, go to Land Registry House Price Index, and you can see that they peaked in November and they're just coming down now. So it's likely that they'll keep coming down for the rest of the year.
We need to start.
Where do you guys invest? What strategies? We're Midlands buy-to-lets, and in the south, we're rent to SA, which is Airbnbs. Okay, thanks for that. Mm-hmm. Have you bought into LNPG for adding value to your properties? No, that kind of escapes us. A lot of people have, but we never really did that.
A few years ago, who did that?
You're very welcome. Thank you, user 634. Score is somewhat irrelevant, very true. Thank you, Mortgage Insights. Your score is important for your investors. Again,
sounds important to you. Sounds important to you. If you want to book a call and talk about investing, that's fine. You can do that. Where would we do that?
PropertyEmpress.com.
Yeah, on PropertyEmpress.com and book a call with Anna and she can discuss in a bit more detail about you investing and we can go through that in a bit more.
The credit file is very important. The credit score really doesn't make much difference. It's just for the person looking to get a gauge of how good it is. Do you have your portfolio with a limited company? Also, are you using trust? We're not using trust yet. The original properties we bought were in our own name because it's a very different structure, but the properties we're buying now are in limited company names. Should you open a company for one property to pay less tax? Talk to a good accountant because it will depend on your circumstances. But yeah, talk to a good accountant. Do you offer what do you offer as an investor? As in, so if we're working with angel investors, what returns do we pay? Is that what you mean? I think that's what they mean.
Maybe.
Yeah, just if you can just clarify the question, I'm happy to answer. Thank you. You guys agree? Thanks so much. Thanks for the likes. Thanks for the follows. What can you offer an investor what can you offer an investor? Well, as in an angel investor. So if you invest into our business, there's two different ways you can do it. You can have a secured investment with us. So if so anything over 100 grand, we can buy properties with. It's a first and only charge. So it's the most secure way that you can invest. So we're currently offering 8% per annum return. And then for the unsecured, which is the Airbnbs, that is anything up to 100 grand. And that's for the secured, it's 2 years. For the Airbnbs, it's 1 year minimum. But that's 10% per annum return. But if you're interested, probably the best thing to do is, because the beautiful thing about working with angel investors is it's flexible. So we can have a chat, work out what you want to do, work out what we want to do, and find middle ground. So there is flexibility within that. Do you not think it would be if you're going to... Oh, you're talking to someone else. Would you think it's a good time to pay off mortgages or invest in other property? I wouldn't be we're not paying off our mortgages. We buy a property, we refinance to pull the initial money back out to pay our angels back with interest. Then we don't touch it. We let the equity go up. So a lot of our property is like 50% loan to value. So we don't need to worry about paying off the mortgages, where if and when we ever sell the properties, that'll clear the mortgages. And the nice thing about having the low mortgages, not touching mortgage, is that the cash flow goes up over the long run. So yeah, I'm sorry if I'm going through these a bit quick. I just want to catch up the comments. 99k and
secured grade investors apply here.
Oh, I see. Because
Depends what, I mean, when you're investing big money, then you'd look at more security, but just 99k.
No, but I said up to 9. But that's what I said. It's flexible, but it's just to give you a rule of thumb. But to be honest, we've worked with the thing for us is we've been investors for 13 years. We've been working with angel investors since the get-go. We have a 100% track record of paying our angels back with interest. And, you know, there's a lot of people who are trying to get better rates of return. Their money's going down in value because of inflation and the fact that savings rates are still so low. So we're offering a service that, you know, that works for us. It works for our investors. So
mortgage insights. Yeah, he's right. Like he's just said it. Like lenders look at your credit. He knows if he's doing mortgages, he knows that's what they look at.
The rental market is truly skyrocketed in my area. Yeah, we're considering it. But remember, they're coming down, and most areas are coming down. So check out Land Registry through your area, and you'll be able to see if they've started coming down, because most areas start coming down from about November. The rental market is... Oh, sorry. Can you recommend a good accounting business? Yes, I can. If you drop me a message, I'll send you their contact details. Would you recommend 1-2 flats as again a house?
Splitting a house into 2 flats. If you can make the money out of it.
Or
depends what you're looking. Yeah. So are you looking to split and sell them, or are you looking to rent them both out?
I think I'm only asking flats or houses. If I'm... they ask you, would you recommend flats? 1 or 2 flats as opposed to a house. If it's Midlands and North, does depend on your strategy. Midlands and North, to be honest, the houses tend to go up in value more.
Good work, guys, and stay motivated. If you need a good broker, get to thank you very much. We will keep your...
Not talking about my mortgage. Oh, you're talking to him. It's more since COVID, people are moving here since the bridge toll to Wales has gone. Oh, I see. So I meant flats or houses.
Sorry.
It's a good time to invest in properties. Yes, it is. As long as you understand the market and you're investing for the long term, then yes. We're south west. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have to say, if I was in the southwest, it'd be tricky to know where to invest because the north is so far. So South Wales is, it would be a good place to invest. But I see why everyone's coming to you. Does buying multiple properties make it harder for young people to afford to buy because there's less? No. So mortgages are the reason that that young people can't buy. And in fact, one of the things that I do is I talk about how all these techniques work to help people get on the property ladder. But but it's a good question. Right, yes, expensive but beautiful. Oh my gosh, right, we're going to have to go. Honestly, the questions have been absolutely amazing. Awesome. It has been a very long episode of the podcast. We might have to cut it down a bit. Thanks so much, Katrine. Thanks for all the questions.
Thank you, everyone.
So if you're interested in the Property Empress podcast, it's on the usual platforms. You're very welcome. It's on all the podcast platforms. There's also a link on propertyempress.com. It's also on YouTube as well. And yes, the government laws are making it harder for landlords, but they're professionalizing the industry. So they're getting rid of shoddy landlords. If you do things in the right way, then, you're fine. You just work with a good accountant, good mortgage broker, and structure your business, Yes, we're on Spotify. So thank you so much for the questions. You can contact me if you want to book a free 30-minute consultation. You can go to propertyempress.com. If you have it, thank you. Yeah, thanks so much. What have I forgotten? I'm on all the platforms. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. But thank you so much for the gifts. This is the final episode of the Property Empress podcast season 4. We're going to be back hopefully after the summer, probably September, October time. So check us out. But go and listen to season 4 if you haven't already.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for listening and staying with us today as well. I hope we've answered some of your questions, given you a bit of insight of what we talk about generally. And if you've got any questions or anything you want to cover on the upcoming season, please get in touch, and we always look at what people want to talk about, and then we talk about them. So we cover current events in the market, We also talk about things which are key that people need to know about. So please put in anything you want to know about the property market or property investing, and we will look at doing episodes on those.
And if you want to invest as well, if you're interested in investing and getting a better rate return for your money, then again, book a call with us on propertyempress.com.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks
Have a
so
great
much.
weekend.
Have a lovely
See you soon.
weekend. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.